This is our 2018 GT2 RS, and today we are doing a cost breakdown of what it takes to get this monster on track. Okay, so in previous videos, we did a cost breakdown of what it would take to get on track. This time, we are gonna show you guys what it takes to prep a car like this to get to the track. And the very first step is paint protection film. Sometimes we receive these cars in from Porsche or from other markets, and we don't see the cars for a week and a half, and that's because they go straight to PPF. So in our case, we decided to do a full car, which means that every surface, every painted surface and carbon surface of the car gets a clear film on it that protects the car. The new stuff is 10 millimeters, the older stuff is 8 millimeters. Now, if you cannot do a full car, because a full car is now around $7,000 to $8,000, that's with someone who's helping you out. I would at least do the full front. Full front would basically mean fender's front, and then I would do the lower rocker and then the rear impact area behind the wheel. Anything behind the wheel just gets really demolished. I would also try to put like a half a bra because this area gets really destroyed. Now, if that's still gonna cost you a couple $1,000s, another viable option if it's your first event and you really just wanna get out there, try it out, see if it's gonna be for you, there's this option called track prep. It's a piece of clear film that you put on yourself. Now, it's not gonna look great, but it goes on there, protects the car, you pull it off after the weekend and your car looks brand new. And then it also serves that you don't have to wipe down all the rubber marks and all the stuff that gets on the car from all the track usage. Okay guys, we are in the front left corner of the car. As you can see, there's a few aftermarket components on this car, and I am going to start with the wheels. Before we get on the track, we 100% want to order at least a set of wheels for these cars, if not 2 sets. The reason is you could put a sticky set on one, you can put a street set on one, and you can swap between them. A set of wheels, or a good set of wheels, is now currently running anywhere from $6,500 to $8,000. The next is going to be these rotor rings. These rotor rings to replace the PCCBs, and if you want to see why we replace them to PCCBs, we'll leave a link in the description below where we spoke everything brakes. So these gyrodisc rotors per axle, it's going to be about $2,000, so $4,000 total to put this rotor combo. Pads for this car are crazily expensive compared to regular cars. They are going to be around $1,100, $1,200 behind this caliper. So this is a stock caliper. They are very good. It's a Brembo caliper. We have caliper studs. The studs basically hold the caliper to the upright, and the reason we replace them is because these calipers are going to come off and on a lot of times through the life of this vehicle. These caliper studs are around $300. We also replace the brake lines. The brake lines are around $150, $160. One thing, when I'm looking at all this, it also reminds me of brake fluid. Brake fluid, to swap the OEM fluid to a aftermarket fluid, that's going to be around $100. Since we are in this corner, one very important thing to get longevity is going to be a alignment. On this car, we do not have to buy camber plates. You can simply swap the right to the left, and this is only on the 991.2 RS generation. So camber plates are free, but getting an alignment, a good alignment for these cars with corner balance, is going to be around $600. So now we're moving on to aero, and I'm going to go from the front of the car to the back of the car. The first thing you'll see that's aftermarket are going to be these dive planes or canards. So the reason we install these on the car, I'll make it real quick, is they do provide a little bit more front downforce, but they are supposed to better route air around the car. That's what engineers say. The race cars all have them, so they must work. They look super cool. So this next piece is super important, and these are called wind buffeters. So when we're on track, we run windows down, and this little guide kind of moves air around the car. That way the air doesn't get in the car. Now, buffeting is basically that, I don't know how to explain it, that popping of the ear. It's like the whoom whoom noise that you get in the car. This gets rid of that. It's super annoying in these cars. Let's move back to the wing. Now we move into this big dog wing. This is a wing from It was an old Barris Dundon collaboration. This wing cost us around $8,000. Now, the reason we put the wing on here, it's because this car, we did feel like it needed a click more wing. Now, we can't add a ton of wing just because we don't have like very much more downforce than stock. So we just put it on here because the car needed a bit more and it's a more efficient wing. So this wing, we also decided to do the gurney flap and the dive plane combo. The gurney was $375 and the dive planes were around $1,500. The other thing, those wind buffeters, those things can get pretty expensive. They're around $400. Okay, guys, now for the meat and potato of this build. It's going to be the interior. There's a lot that goes on in here, and we always start with cage and harnesses. The cage, we love to get them from GMG. It's a group out of California. Great group of people. For a regular cage, it's going to be right at $3,100. Now, if you want to get crazy with the color, which I sometimes do, and I chase making the color perfect to the car, it gets pretty expensive. I've spent weeks finding samples and $600-700 with different powder coaters just to get it perfect. So that's the cage. The other thing is going to be these harnesses. I like the new 2x2 Enduros. It's going to be around $1,100-1,200 for a set, driver and passenger. So the next thing I'm moving to is going to be the seats. On these cars, we do a few things to them in order to be able to mount this and be comfortable. So in order to be able to mount the substrap bar, we do a bar that goes across that mounts to the seat. I think this car has the Cantrell ones, and these Cantrell ones are going to be $380. Now, the passenger seat has a bigger issue. The passenger seat on these cars and all the 991 generation cars does not actually have a hole. We have to send it to get out. There's a local company that does it called Black Sheep. They do great work. You have to actually cut the carbon. That's around $400-500. If you guys want to better see how we install harnesses, there's a link below on how to do it, on how we did it on our previous GT4s and GT2 RS. So one component that's controversial, some people like it, some people don't, is going to be seat angle adjusters. There are these bars here underneath that actually they raise the front of the seat by about an inch, and that gives you better clearance with your head and neck restraint device, with your Hans device. And I feel like it makes this seat more of a bucket. These seats already feel amazing. They're easy to get in, they're hard to get out, but they feel great on the track. Last but not least, the most important thing on this car is going to be a data system. This car, we have a Solo 2DO that we purchased way back when we used to run the AIM stuff. We really like it. We just prefer the quality of the V-Box stuff. So a AIM system is, I believe we paid around $1,800 for a brand new AIM system. The V-Boxes are now pretty ridiculous. They are around $4,500. I would put that any day in this car. We just love it. So another alternative, if you don't want to spend $1,000, $2,000, or maybe $4,000 for a data system, a really good start is going to be the new Garmin Catalyst. I mean, it's been around for a few years, but it gets you on track. It actually records what you're doing. It also gives you feedback, but it gives you something that you can look back to and learn from. At least a very, very good starting point, in my opinion. Okay, guys, so it's not a race car if it doesn't have a good exhaust. This exhaust that this car has, it's made out of Inconel and it's from Dundon Motorsports. The cost is going to be pretty expensive, around $8,000. Let's hear it. Okay, guys, so here are a couple more extras, things that we find necessary at the level that we're doing. And the first one's going to be vinyl numbers. Not overlooked. These vinyl numbers, I mean, they do cost they do cost money. That's why we're throwing it in here. A good set of vinyl numbers for this car is going to be $70 to $100. Now, we have seen people use the magnetic stuff, which sometimes doesn't stay on the car. You have to like tape the leading edge just so it doesn't get ripped off. And then when we started, we used tape. It's pretty simple. Tape's okay for the first few, but the aesthetics of putting a proper number is like nothing else. I'm gonna move back inside the car, and in Tiger Motorsports, we're always out there as a team. And one thing that we have found very important and super useful is gonna be driver-to-driver comms. So driver to driver in 2 separate vehicles. So we have radios in these cars. The radio system can run, I think, from $700 to $1,000. We love it. There's a lot of unnecessary talk there, but that makes this even more fun. But there has been a couple times where we have fluid on the track, cars off track, and it helps the next guy not just rip through there, or it has helped us prevent accidents. The next one is going to be comms, driver to passenger. As you're moving up through the ladder, and even us that we're all driving as advanced instructors, we do have professional instructors that get in the cars with us. And in some of these cars, I already have a permanent system that doesn't get out of the car. So a permanent comm system that driver to passenger stays with the car. Anytime you hop in, you plug in and you're good to go. The one that I really like is the new Stilo one. I think it's around $300, $350. Before we wrap up, let's speak of tires. And the reason I didn't include them when we were down there on the wheels, because tires come and go. It's basically choose your flavor. For a set of Hoosiers, sticky rubber, it's still DOT tire, but I think it's a 40 tread wear. Right now, they are around $2,500 for a tire set size for this car, which would be a 295, 345. The smaller the wheel and the narrower the tire, usually the cheaper they are. That's a set of tires for you. So every car you see in our fleet, we like to run in a OEM plus. I'm not gonna say the car is completely stock, because it's not. Once you put a big component like a wing or an exhaust, in my opinion, the car is no longer stock. But we basically try to run them as Porsche designed them to run, maybe with a little bit more downforce, maybe with a little bit better aerodynamics, small tweaks. This is the way we do it. Now, we did leave a few stones unturned on this car, and that's completely fine. The car is on stock suspension. It's on stock calipers and brakes, so it doesn't have like a big brake kit or something aftermarket on the brakes. And then it doesn't have a big aero kit. Like I said, the suspension is stock. And again, I tell people time and time again, these cars are crazy capable out of the factory. Now you are paying, so this gets into our next topic. For a car like this, you are paying around $350,000 for the car. From what I've listed, I can kind of calculate that it's going to be around $50,000, but we'll put the exact amount up here. So you don't have to run cars at this level. So obviously this can be done at a way lower level. And a good example is going to be this previous weekend. We had a friend with a Toyota GR86, and he did that exact thing that we said about the PPF. Did the full front rockers, I think even did the high impact areas in the new thicker 10 mil. So maybe he spent a couple $1,000 there. I just did brake pad swap, brake fluid. I changed the oil in the car, and I think all that was like $600, another $600 for pads, and he was good for the whole weekend. He had the time of his life. So as you can see, the prices vary very much depending on the vehicle. Do your research and see what's going to fit within your budget. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them down below. We'll see you in the next one.